Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Hey everyone, welcome to my brand new podcast series, Inside One-on-One Coaching, where I'm giving you an inside look on what a private money coaching call is actually like, and to show you how much can shift for you from just one single coaching session. These episodes are real one-on-one coaching calls. Some are with current and past clients, and some are people I've never coached before, and everyone has given permission for these calls to be shared with you here. A full one-on-one coaching package is 3 months long with weekly coaching sessions, unlimited text and voice messaging support with me, and access to the full video curriculum from my signature group coaching program, Cashed Up Creatives. One-on-one coaching is for creatives, business owners, and those of you whose brains just have a hard time following traditional money advice. You'll get personalized strategy and support to help you understand your numbers without a spreadsheet, fully fund your savings, invest your first $1,000, spend money guilt-free, and finally build a relationship with money that feels easy and supportive. The investment for this package is $4,000 or 3 monthly payments of $1,400. You can book a sales call with me to learn more about one-on-one coaching and what that would look like for you, and the link is in the show notes. Let's get to it.
Hi, Brooke Benson.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm so good. Wow, I wanted to meet you for so long.
It's so lovely to meet you. I'm so glad that you're here today. So as we start the call today, I would love for you to, I read your intake form, but I'd love to know just a little bit more about who you are, where you're at, what life looks like for you right now, and then we'll dive into coaching. Does that sound good?
That sounds amazing.
Amazing. Okay, so talk to me. Tell me about yourself.
So I am 24, newly 24. I am an actor. I just moved to New York City 3 months ago.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. Where in the city are you?
Yes, I'm up in Washington Heights. I'm in a beautiful, fantastic sublet, where for the first couple of months I was living with people that I went to college with. So I'm super fortunate that it was very cheap. I'm allowed to have my cat. Which is the biggest thing.
What's your cat's name?
Merlin.
Oh my God, sweet
Yes.
Merlin. Okay.
Yes. He's a absolute goober.
Uh-huh.
I was allowed to have my cat. It's a big, beautiful space with balcony, 19th floor that looks over Manhattan, essentially. It's stunning. And I was living with people that I knew, which was incredible. And yeah, I'm very passionate about fantasy, D&D, Ren Fairy stuff. All of those things come at a very high price point.
Yeah.
I just said that I was going to take the summer to not really focus on acting and get myself settled, because this is a city that I want to create a life in, not just a career in. And I've done that, but I also have realized how quickly all of the savings that I had for New York dissipated, and how much money moves in this city faster than than in Dayton, Ohio. So yeah, I'm living in a crux of my life right now where I'm living in the city that I've always wanted to live in, and I'm so happy and fulfilled. But I have to be out of the sublet on September 15th. And I don't have a place lined up yet. And that's a little spooky. And also that takes a lot of money. And I hope to find a lease that I can actually sign on to. And I'm very lucky to have had a job right away, transferred from the store I was working at in Ohio to their sister store in New York City. But that commute is over an hour long on the subway, and it's really, really draining. And it's not I was very happy working at my store in Ohio, but their sister store doesn't have necessarily the same moral compass that I was very excited to work at.
Sure.
Um, so even though I've literally gotten 2 promotions since I started working there, which is great and fantastic, it's like, oh, I don't really want to stay here for very long. So I have new resumes printed over there. I'm gonna walk around to cute stores in the Upper East Side today and be like, I'm really good at selling things. Let me sell
Uh-huh.
things for you.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm also oh gosh, what was the other point I was going to make? Oh, I'm also having a surgery that's very personally exciting for me, literally tomorrow. But like the money stress of that is also very worrying.
Sure.
So it's like a crux of all things financial. Um, Financial and personal all coming together at the same time in my life.
Mhm.
Yeah, which has made
Cool.
my brain a little like scared and avoidant of it, honestly, which is interesting because I was in a place before I moved where I was like very hands-on with what I was doing and felt very good. And now I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at those numbers.
Yeah. What does hands-on mean for you? Like when you were in Ohio, what did that look like for you?
Ooh. Um, well, when I was in Ohio, I was like live, laugh, loving the Brooke Benson podcast constantly. um
Always love to hear that.
like telling all of my friends my financial knowledge and wisdom and being like, no, I have this figured out, guys. If you have questions, let me know.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful cash flow system that makes me so happy. I'm set up with Ally, which is like, I didn't know I could love a bank until I signed up and I was like, wait, this is incredible. um and I really liked living with the sense of, I think something you said was many months ago was like having an abundance mindset with the system to back it up. And I really loved having that, and it was meshing really well. um and now I have a beautiful system to back it up, which been very grateful for, because in my like kind of avoidant money mind that I've been living in, I've been able to rely on this system, which is great, but also I need to restructure how my brain works here, on this end. So yeah, I was getting to the point before I moved where I no longer felt like I had to track my spending in Ohio because it became pretty consistent. I just wanted to do it for like 3 months to make sure I knew what I was doing with it.
Mhm.
And now that I'm in New York, I'm like, it's completely different. I need to refigure out what my baseline is here because it's different than what I thought it would be. And it's
Mhm.
also different than what I was doing previously.
Yeah. Have you done those numbers? Have you figured out your new baseline?
Um, I had figured out what I thought it would be before I showed up. And then I got here and in pretty fast once I saw, well, I was like, well, I'm using my like savings money. It's not going to be accurate to what I'm actually spending because I'm buying a ton of things for life. That's not, even though that's not true. That's my brain being like, I don't need to look at this.
Yeah.
Um, so I sat down the other day and I did most of I re-looked through all of June's finances because it was the first month that I felt like I wasn't significantly spending just for moving.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't finish because I am God's sleepiest soldier. Uh, but I got a lot of it done. I am diagnosed with narcolepsy, so sometimes I'm like, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I went through and got most of it done and
Uh-huh.
finally had like a come to Jesus moment of like, I need to look at these numbers and see how
Yeah.
I feel about them and
Mhm.
like what is in the fun money category that wasn't actually all that fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What came up for you there as you were going through those numbers?
Oh gosh. Um, what came up for me is that I was doing a lot of unexpected spending that was focused not on the things that actually fundamentally will make me happy,
Mm.
but in a like panic, like, well, I guess I need this because somebody like either it's just like a little bit of panic spending of like, oh, I'm working at this store and we get an extra discount today. And I was kind of looking at that thing. And I guess because we get an extra discount today, I'll buy it rather than being like, is that thing actually going to bring you sustained joy for longer than like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that has been cropping up, which is interesting to me.
Okay. So we'll come back to that in a second,
Yeah.
but let me just throw my pen across the room. What is, when you were looking at your actual numbers, like let's go to the number piece of it. What are you bringing in and what's going out?
Ooh. So I'm not bringing in as much as I'm spending, which is
Okay.
spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why I'm like, I think I need a different job.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bringing, let me pull out my calculator because math is hard. um, whoop, if I do plus 7, I'm bringing in like 1,400 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Which for my rent and living expenses, like my necessities or my unnegotiables, that covers and is fine. But in living in a new city, the unnegotiables suddenly are like, oh, well, I have a friend in a show. I have to see my friend in a show. Uh, and all of those sorts of things. So it covers all of my my unnegotiables, but my flex spending plan, I'm spending, I want to say like $400 ish over what I initially thought I should, like the number that I had on there, where this would cover. So that's it's just not making me super excited to work with my money when I know I'm working in negatives.
Sure. So what we're talking about right here is why we look to the numbers, right? And why you do spending audits is because we want to figure out, is it a spending problem or is it an income problem? Right now, I love that you're auditing your spending where you're like, yeah, this actually isn't bringing me a lot of joy, this thing and this thing, right? We're like trimming out the fat. And at the end of the day, this is an income problem. Okay.
Mhm.
So with that being said, how much do you want to be bringing in a month? I have a number,
Ooh.
but I want to know from you.
How much I want to be bringing in a month? Well, considering I'm probably going to be moving soon, and I don't know if I'm going to find a space that's as cheap as this one, I'll be completely honest. I would love to be bringing in like at least 3,000 a month to cover like living expenses plus being able to live a fun and exciting life in New York City that isn't just me being like, hey, we can go to a park.
Yeah.
That's how we can hang out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Cool. So $3,000 a month. That's what I was gonna say. Minimum 2,500, but 3,000 is gonna give you a little bit of wiggle room for your savings, for investing, for things like that. Especially because like this surgery that's coming up and some of those other things that you want to be spending money on that aren't necessarily just those month-to-month expenses. You want that wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, these places that you're gonna go drop resumes off on the Upper East Side, will those bring you $3,000 a month?
Um, Truthfully, I'd have to work the number backwards, wouldn't I?
Yeah, let's work the number backwards. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Let me do a little.
Hmm?
Okay, so $3,000 a month, divided by 4 weeks, um, oh, in a month, and then how many hours a week can I realistically work? Uh, if it's closer to me, full time is not out of the picture, but like with my commute right now, 40 hours a week would be way too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably say if I want to give myself time to do creative things like I want to, give myself a couple of extra hours of wiggle room at like 35 hours a week would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whoop, that is uh, that's $21 an hour and 43 cents. months.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Buffer it for taxes, $30
buffer it for
an hour.
sorry, what did you say?
Buffer it for taxes, $30 an hour.
$30 an hour. Yeah.
I mean, we could say 25, like between 25 and 30, that's what you're looking at as your baseline.
Yeah.
What comes up when we talk about that number?
It's not the most unrealistic, but it is like it's like curating where specifically I drop things off at. It's
Yeah.
not looking into every thrift shop, because as much as I want to, like, I'm getting to a point in my life where I no longer feel satisfied working at a job where my ethics don't combine with like what the job is.
Yeah.
But realistically, not every small business can afford to pay their workers $25 an hour minimum. Mm-hmm. Not that I haven't seen it, but those are like usually like slightly bougier stores, slightly more elevated shopping experiences where they're probably asking for a lot of, especially in New York City, a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's fascinating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a slightly intimidating number. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you have thoughts about what the work would require of you emotionally, physically, and like mental dissonance wise at $25 to $30 an hour. And that's where we need to focus, because that's what's going to keep you from making $25 to $30 an hour.
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to lean into exception to the rule energy. What I mean by that is right now you're living in the overarching standards, the status quo, what's realistic. Okay. Mm-hmm. Realistically, small businesses that have great values don't make as much money as the corporate overlords, right? You have that status quo in your brain. Does that mean that there is not a single small business that has fantastic values that pays their employees swimmingly? No, she exists. She's out there, right? Mm-hmm. At least one of them exists. At least one, right? And you get to be the one person who gets hired at that specific place. Now, this is the energy that I want you to lean into. We can apply it to a million different things, right? This is a fun energy to apply to acting as well, right? Artistic career. But when it comes to that kind of work, I want you to be thinking about, if I desire a moral company, if I desire this amount of pay, and can I also believe that they're going to hire me for my skill set rather than the fact that I don't have 18 years of sales experience?
Yeah.
What's coming up as I say that?
It's weird because I'm getting slightly choked up in the back of my throat, but I'm also excited.
Tell me why. Why are you getting choked up?
I'm getting choked up because I think, one, it is like scary to be like, no, I'm worth this. And I know, and one, I know that I am. A girl who moves to New York City, has a job immediately, where they're like, well, if you're struggling, like, we'll just take it slow, and then immediately gets 2 promotions in 3 months. I'm worth it. I know I'm good at my shit. Am I allowed to curse? I
love how many people ask that when they're on this podcast. Like, you've listened to this podcast, you are allowed to curse.
I know I'm allowed to curse.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh no.
Yeah.
One, I know my shit. But like going to strangers and saying that out loud and like having the confidence and ease in myself to do that is like, ooh, that's spooky. Like, internally I know, but like proclaiming that outwardly, ooh, is spooky. Yeah. But also it is on the other side, like, I genuinely have like excited feelings about that because I know I can. I just have to like go for it and actually do it. And find those companies and walk in and be like, I'm really good at this, actually.
What feels spooky to proclaim that?
Ooh, what feels spooky is, I think one, saying it to myself and really having to believe it. Because there's one thing where I'm like, logically, yes. Emotionally, do I feel that way right now? Meh. Secondly, I'm really scared of because a lot of what I've gotten, especially starting this job at the beginning, was like, oh, you're not used to how crazy this city gets. Like, you don't know, therefore, like, it might just take you a while. Like, you're not prepared for this. And those sorts of reactions are a little intimidating to me from like a high end store or like a high end thrift store, antique store kind of person where they're like, are you really actually, like, you might be good at this in Ohio, but New York City is different, a different market, especially when it comes to working retail. Even though I literally have evidence to back it up.
How is it different? How is it different?
Um, one, a huge influx of people. Like, so many, pretty much every store within this city is a higher volume of people coming in and out than a store in Ohio. I worked at high um what's considered a high volume store in Ohio. And then immediately upon starting this job, it feels like a busy Saturday every single day here. And then on top of that, I think we all know when New Yorkers get slightly angry or upset, it's very much a like, I'm not gonna cover this up with Midwestern politeness. I'm gonna get what I want, or I'm going to find out why I can't get what I want. Which is amazing and respectable, and I love that for them, but it doesn't always make it easy on the workers. Like, you kind of do have to have like a steeled mind to all of that, even though, like, so I've also made so many lovely connections with people I almost said served, I've like interacted with at work. I've also had the people who are like, wait a second, you need to tell me why this isn't going the way I want it to, or like trying, and in a very serious and not masking it at all. So I think there's a perception, and it's a somewhat correct perception, like, it's different, it's a different level of intensity that
What I'm hearing right now is that you somehow see your Midwestern roots as something that needs to get fixed being here in New York.
a, uh, a little bit. I think that that's the perception of me being like, well, I just moved from Ohio and I think you should give me a job. And I think people are like, oh, sweetie, it's completely different.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, did you see how you just imitated yourself?
Yeah.
That's what needs to change. That's what I'm saying. You coming in from Midwestern Ohio, the energy is, yeah, I'm here in New York, and yeah, I'm a Midwestern sweetheart, and this is exactly why you want that energy in your store. You don't need another New York hard ass in your store. This is why I'm an asset. I'm a sweetheart, but I don't fuck around. Like, that
Absolutely.
energy versus like, I just got here, I'm new here, I'm a new little New Yorker. That's not who you are.
No.
But it's like, you need to start telling yourself that story, right? It starts in your own brain. What's coming up for you right now?
Ooh, I was just going to write down, um, oh, what phrase was I just going to write down? I was just going to write down, it was like, I am a Midwestern asset, rather than like deficient in any way because of that.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah. Oop. Yeah. And I think that's actually very true. I haven't thought about it like that a lot, but like, I have the ability to be like, no, I'm a badass and I know what I'm doing. I'm very good at my job. But on the other end, nobody greets someone walking into the store like I greet them. No one has like genuine heart when they say, "Oh, I hope you have a really good day." Um,
Oh,
and nobody's like looking someone into the eyes where when I'm like, oh, how can I help you?
yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess I haven't thought about it like that a lot. It's been a lot of like, well, I'm here now and I have to fit into this culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something I wish I could scream to every single New York transplant, like including myself, is New York does not have to change who you are. There's some sort of weird acclamation energy in the air here where it's like you better become a New Yorker or you won't survive here. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm sorry, these Midwestern sweethearts are just as welcome here, and we need more of that energy here in New York. My Florida kitsch ass walking down these streets in a Hawaiian shirt, I'm sorry, I'm not changing that, right? I'm going to smile at people and I'm going to say hello. New York does not have to change me. It's going to ground me into the fact that I love who I am and I'm not going to apologize for it. That's what I think New York can do for you. Of like,
Yeah.
I get to be who I am, and New York's just going to help me ground into that. Everything you just said of like, no one does it how I do, all of that sweet, kind, gentle, authentic, vulnerable energy that you bring, how can you tell yourself that that is such a badass, strong trait to have?
Ooh. It's so interesting to be like, oh, your gentleness and sweetness is badass and strong in its
So
own right. Oh,
badass.
that's so cool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think journaling.
For
Truly
sure.
journaling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I did a I think it's time for me to I did a journal like a month ago where it was like what I bring to the table in a moment where I was like, I don't know what I bring to the table. And my rule was once I started writing something down, I wasn't allowed to erase it.
Mm. Mhm.
And it all came together so much faster than I thought it would.
Mhm.
Which is is like heartwarming that I've done enough growth in myself to not be like whoop,
Mhm.
to have that all of that come out of me in like 30 minutes. Whereas Alex maybe 4 years ago, pre-college, probably would not have made a page.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a style of journaling that I think I need to come back to regularly.
Mhm.
Because there's lots of moments where it is like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I truly don't know what I'm doing right now. I need to feel like I'm worthy. And then there's little moments like this where I don't even realize that I'm like lowering myself and I'm cutting myself off at the knees. And I don't even notice.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
what a coach can help you do, right? Like, this is why I'm so glad you're on this call, because that's exactly right. Sometimes you don't even see, right? Of course, we're all watching the Olympics right now. You might not see where your like toes aren't pointed until someone points it out.
oh yeah.
So I'm glad we got here. This, the like, whenever you're feeling emotion like this, that's where I want you to spend more time, because that's when we've hit something, right? It's like you struck gold when this happens and you don't even expect it to happen. You're like, oh, I'm feeling emotional. Fascinating. Let me dig deeper. So, journaling here. The other thing I want to say is yes, believing you're worthy and still taking action from the place of your worthy self, even if you're having a moment of dipping in your belief. So you're going to have a moment right after this where the emotions are raw. You're going to be feeling super great. I want you to voice memo to yourself how you're feeling right now, some of these phrases that you're going to take from this coaching call. Hype yourself up for those moments when you're in a low and you forget who you are, you forget the Midwestern badass that you are, you can hear yourself hype you up, right? And even when you're feeling low like that, you're going to channel and you're going to be like, okay, but what would the version of me do who wasn't feeling low? And I'm going to go take that action anyway. So even though I don't feel like I'm worthy, I'm going to walk into that store and pitch how I am worthy, right? So you're still continually taking action and you can let the belief come in and out because it's going to take a minute for that path to wear. But as long as you keep coming back to it, that's the important part.
Yeah. Oh, this is so lovely.
Good. I'm so glad. And knowing, right? Coming back to the tactical piece of this, $3,000 a month, that's your standard. That's your non-negotiable, which means $25 to $30 an hour, that's your non-negotiable. So
Yeah.
anything that's less than that isn't going to move the needle. So let's ignore it. Let's not even put energy towards it. So you're going to go with what you know, right? So starting to go to those stores, pitch yourself there, but then broaden your net. Like what else could bring you $25 to $30 an hour? Or what other things could you do that would excite you, that would buffer taking something that's $20 an hour, right?
Yeah.
So you can start thinking creatively in that realm. But just knowing that like $25 to $30 gets to be your standard, wake up every morning and say that. Get that number in your brain. I want you to believe and know that $25 to $30 an hour is actually not that much money. Let that be an empowering thought of like, this is the minimum wage. Like if we actually look at what the minimum wage should be, right? With inflation and everything that's happened, when we do the math, it should be $25 to $30 an hour, especially in New York, especially in a high cost of living city. So who gives a fuck what the government standard is of minimum wage? Your minimum wage, 25 to 30.
Yeah.
Say that over and over and over. Normalize that number in your head.
Yeah. I'm going to make a new affirmation sheet.
I love that so much. I think you should. I'm so glad we got here today, Alex. I'm glad I got to coach you.
I'm so glad too. It was so lovely meeting you after hearing your voice for so long.
I'm so glad. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll be sending all the good energy and good vibes as you are on your search this month.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, Alex.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.